Good morning. There is no let-up in Israel's pounding of the Gaza Strip as it tries to neutralise Hamas. The action's coming as the Islamic militant movement threatens to kill its Israeli captives. This update from our Europe correspondent Edward Godfrey, who is in Israel.
Well, Israel's retaliation has stepped up, but so too has Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's rhetoric, who's given a televised address. In that address, he likened Hamas to ISIS and says we haven't seen these horrors since ISIS, and stressed that Hamas would be defeated. He said the bombardment of Gaza is just the beginning, and he said there are still enemies in the Israeli territory and the army is working to destroy them. There's also been a warning to Israelis to prepare for a 3-day stay in a bomb shelter or in a safe room situation. Gaza has been absolutely hammered by the Israeli Air Force today, but Hamas has responded in kind, firing rockets deep into Israeli territory. Some have struck Jerusalem, where people have been injured, 2 of them critically, we understand, and even as far in as Tel Aviv. Rockets were fired earlier on today, but most of that is occurring further south around the Gaza border, and we ourselves got a first-hand experience with that today when we were caught up when Hamas launched a volley of rockets into Israeli territory. The siren sounded where we were. We had to get out of our vehicle and get down and try and get to safety, or relative safety, as we heard these rockets come over, and they were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome. They were exploding overhead. We went into some other towns nearby. Others include Ashkelon, where parts of rockets had fallen, some that had been intercepted, and where they'd landed, huge craters and that destroyed cars. And people come out and were telling us, as long as you hear the bang, it's okay, just giving an insight into their experience at the moment. So it's a very frightening situation. It's an unpredictable situation. The retaliation efforts is certainly escalating in terms of Israel attacking Hamas in Gaza there, and people here are quite worried about what's to come.
US, British, German, French and Italian leaders have declared their ongoing support for Israel as the conflict rages. And at the same time, America has been warned about interfering in the Middle East. Our US correspondent Jonathan Kersley has the latest.
The situation on the ground in Israel is unfolding almost minute by minute. US President Joe Biden has been here at the White House for briefings with his national security team and in talks with key allies, the United Kingdom, France, Germany and Italy. It is likely there will be more support going Israel's way. The US President has told Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's Prime Minister, he will give Israel what it needs to defend itself and its people. At the same time, America has been the target of a threat from Hezbollah in Lebanon, the militant group saying if the US gets directly involved, all of its targets in the Middle East would be attacked. The concern for the United States has been for the security of Israel, but it's also fearful violence could spread outside of Israel and Gaza into Lebanon and Syria. Joe Biden released a very lengthy statement earlier today confirming 11 Americans at least are among the hundreds of people who have been killed in this conflict. He also believes US citizens are among those being held hostage by Hamas in Gaza. After talking with the leaders of France, Germany, Italy and the United Kingdom, Joe Biden and the leaders of all those countries released a statement which in part says our countries will support Israel in its efforts to defend itself and its people against such atrocities. We further emphasise that this is not a moment for any party hostile to Israel to exploit these attacks to seek advantage. And the horrors of this war have moved even some of the most hardened White House officials close to tears.
It's horrifying. There's been a lot of death and destruction in that region, but I've never seen anything like this.
I'm sorry. It's very, excuse me, very difficult to look at these images, Jake, and the human cost. And these are human beings. They're family members, they're friends, they're loved ones, cousins, brothers, sisters. Yeah, it's difficult, and I apologize.
But this is an incredibly delicate situation. There have been protests around the world, from London, where pro-Israel and pro-Palestine groups have faced off, separated by British police. In Jordan, pro-Palestine supporters have called for the removal of Israel's ambassador. And the Secretary General of the Arab League says the root of all of this conflict lies in Israeli occupation. The global calls for calm are growing louder, though.
Nothing can justify these acts of terror and the killing, maiming and abduction of civilians.
So the US president has made it clear from here at the White House he wants to continue to provide Israel with the support it needs. The question is, though, how is he going to do that without increasing tensions in the Middle East? This is a delicate diplomatic dance that America has to do.
And Australia has unequivocally condemned the attacks on Israel by Hamas, calling for the protection of all civilian lives. The government also asking Australians to reconsider their travel plans to the area. This just in from the Prime Minister.
There are concerns about Australians in the Middle East. I was briefed again this morning. I receive briefings every day about these issues, and we'll continue to work through Foreign Affairs to provide support.
And those overseas tensions have boiled over here onto Australian streets, with pro-Palestinian supporters gathering at the base of the Opera House in Sydney. The New South Wales Premier this morning condemning those violent scenes. New South Wales Police have now established a task force reviewing security vision from last night, with anyone who committed criminal offences or was found to be supporting terrorist group Hamas to be arrested.
I think that they were abhorrent. I think that they're the opposite of what we want in our modern multicultural community. To have some people celebrate atrocious, indiscriminate killing and kidnapping in Israel is appalling. Racial epithets were thrown at the Jewish community by the mere fact that they were members of the Jewish community, which is shocking and abusive and potentially a crime.
The Premier standing by his decision to light up the Opera House with the Israeli flag, just as many landmarks have done so around the world. This report from Jack Hahn on the night's events.
Well, New South Wales Police this morning have defended their decision to arrest a man that was waving an Israeli flag, saying they issued him a move-on notice to keep the peace.
That situation caused and could have caused significant risk to him and others who were present. He was removed for his safety.
More than 700 pro-Palestinian protesters gathered at Sydney's Town Hall, marching towards the Opera House. During the 2-hour demonstration, tensions boiled over, with the Israeli flag set alight and stomped on, while fireworks and flares were thrown towards a line of about 100 police officers, including members of the riot squad, that were separating the crowd from the iconic landmark that was lit in blue and white to honour Israel.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
This is New South Wales. We do not expect people to bring conflict from other places to the streets of Sydney, and the violence will not be tolerated. We are continuing to work across all community, and all community can be assured that we will continue to do so that they are free to go about their business without fear.
The Jewish community here in Sydney were warned to keep clear of the city last night, and it would appear the Prime Minister's calls to cancel the rally were ignored.